Sometimes, it's not the dramatic changes that signal the end. It's the quiet ones. A sudden silence. A forgotten meal. A look that lingers a little too long. Knowing these subtle signs can help us show up with love, presence, and peace when it matters most. When someone you love begins to slip quietly toward life's final chapter, it doesn't always come with clear warnings. There's no clock that counts down, no announcement. Instead, the signs are gentle, whispers rather than shouts, and unless we're paying close attention, they can be easy to miss. But when we do notice them, when we take the time to see, to listen, and to understand what's not being said, we give ourselves the chance to love more deeply, to support more meaningfully, and to create comfort where fear often tries to take root. Today, I want to gently walk with you through 5 subtle, yet powerful signs that an elderly loved one may be nearing the end, not to bring fear, but to offer wisdom, so that if and when the time comes, you won't be caught off guard. You'll be ready with tenderness, with strength, and with peace. It often begins with something small. Your loved one pushes away their favorite dessert. A once-loved cup of tea remains untouched. Meals that once brought joy are now met with quiet indifference. This loss of appetite or thirst may be one of the earliest and most overlooked signs that the body is preparing for its final transition. And while it can be worrying to witness, it's not necessarily a sign of suffering. In fact, it's a natural response. As the body slows down, so does its need for fuel. The digestive system begins to require less effort, and the body intuitively begins to conserve energy. This change isn't about giving up. It's about preparing. The elderly person's body is gradually shifting its priorities, focusing inward as life begins to wind down. But for caregivers, this can feel distressing. Watching someone you love ignore food or even water can trigger deep fear. You may find yourself tempted to coax, plead, or even insist they eat, believing nourishment will somehow hold back time. That's a completely human reaction. You want them to stay. Still, it's important to remember that in the final chapter of life, eating becomes less about survival and more about comfort. Instead of pushing full meals, try offering small, easy-to-digest options. Sips of warm broth, a spoonful of applesauce, ice chips to soothe the dry mouth. Sometimes, just holding their hand while they take a few slow bites can provide more comfort than any calorie ever could. And if they refuse altogether, it's okay. You're not failing them. You're honoring what their body is quietly telling you. What they need most in this moment may not be food, but your gentle presence. There's a sacred kind of love in letting go of control, in learning to care with softness instead of urgency. This shift from feeding to comforting can help both you and your loved one experience more peace in these precious days. When meals no longer serve as nourishment, they can still be moments of connection. You can still sit beside them, reminisce about recipes they loved, or simply share silence. These changes are not always easy to accept, but they are deeply human. So if you notice that favorite meals are going untouched, or glasses of water are left full, don't panic. Pause, observe, breathe. This could be your loved one's way of telling you in the gentlest language their body knows that they're getting ready. And your role now is to listen with your heart, to ease the journey, not to reverse it. Because love at the end of life doesn't always look like action. And sometimes it looks like presence, like patience, like peace. As appetite fades, another quiet shift often follows: fatigue. You may begin to notice your loved one sleeping longer through the mornings, dozing more during the day, and slowly retreating from conversations that once lit up their eyes. Favorite shows go unwatched. Books stay closed. Phone calls go unanswered. And when you do sit with them, there's a new kind of stillness in the room. One that's hard to name but deeply felt. This isn't just tiredness. It's the body entering a stage of deep conservation. When an elderly person nears the end of life, their physical systems begin winding down, much like a candle that slowly dims. Even the simplest tasks, speaking, sitting up, engaging, can begin to feel like climbing a mountain. Their energy is no longer being channeled outward, it's moving inward. And emotionally, something even more profound is happening, a quiet letting go of the world around them. This withdrawal isn't always sadness. It's often a form of acceptance, one that caregivers can misread as depression or indifference. But in many cases, it's a natural part of the transition. The need to socialize, entertain, or even respond fades as their focus turns toward peace, closure, and stillness. As a caregiver or family member, this can be one of the hardest changes to witness. The person you love begins to feel more distant, not just physically, but emotionally. You may find yourself reminiscing about their laughter, their spark, their voice. You may miss the way they used to look at you, ask about your day, or hold your hand with purpose. But just because their energy has changed, doesn't mean your connection is lost. This stage invites a different kind of presence, one that is soft, unhurried, and without expectation. Instead of trying to keep them awake or encourage activity, try sitting quietly by their side. Read a passage from a favorite book, even if their eyes stay closed. Play soft music from a memory-filled era. Hold their hand. Rest your head beside theirs. Let your presence say what words no longer need to. These quiet moments can become some of the most meaningful. They create a sense of calm in a time that often feels uncertain. They honor your loved one's natural rhythm instead of resisting it. It's also helpful to gently reassure them, even if they're not fully awake, that they're not alone. A soft, "I'm here," can go a long way. It reminds them that even in the fog of fatigue, they are deeply loved, held, and seen. Of course, there may still be moments of lucidity, brief times when they open their eyes, say a name, or smile at a familiar voice. When these moments come, cherish them, not as signs of getting better, but as little windows of grace, gifts within the slow process of goodbye. What matters most now isn't how many words are spoken or how much time is spent awake. It's the quality of presence, the comfort of being beside someone, even in silence, the sacredness of simply witnessing their journey without trying to change its course. So if you find yourself worrying about how much they're sleeping, if their silence begins to feel too heavy, remember this: the body knows when to rest, the spirit knows when to begin letting go, and your love, it doesn't need to be loud to be heard. In these moments, love becomes quieter, but never less powerful, never less present. As your loved one spends more time resting, you may begin to notice subtle, yet unsettling changes in the way they breathe. Their breaths may become shallow, uneven, or come in a rhythm that doesn't quite feel natural. Sometimes, there will be long pauses between inhales, pauses that make you hold your breath too, waiting. This is known as Cheyne-Stokes breathing, a common end-of-life pattern where breathing becomes irregular, alternating between shallow breaths and longer gaps of silence. It can be difficult to witness, even frightening, but it's important to know this shift in breathing is usually not painful or distressing for the person experiencing it. It's the body's way of slowly letting go. In the final stages of life, the brain's control over the respiratory system begins to fade. Oxygen levels shift. The need for consistent breath lessens. What you're seeing is the body doing what it knows how to do, preparing, releasing, softening. And while you may feel a rush of panic the first time it happens, your loved one is often unaware. There is usually no sense of fear or suffocation on their part. In fact, many describe these final days as deeply peaceful for the person nearing the end. The discomfort we feel often comes from our own helplessness, not theirs. So what can you do in these moments? First, create comfort, both for them and for yourself. Elevate their head slightly with soft pillows to help ease their breathing. A cool mist humidifier can soothe dryness in the throat or nose. Keep the room quiet, calm, and softly lit. You might choose to play gentle instrumental music or the sound of nature, rainfall, ocean waves, or birdsong. Your presence remains more important than ever. Sit nearby. Speak softly. You don't need to fill the space with words, but if you feel called to tell them you love them, tell them they're safe. Tell them it's okay to rest. These moments, when the breath grows faint, are often when your presence becomes the deepest kind of medicine. It's natural to want to call for help or intervention the first time breathing changes like this occur. But remember, this is often a sign that the body is doing what it was built to do. Unless there's visible discomfort, medical professionals usually recommend gentle support over invasive action. Still, if you're unsure, speak with a hospice nurse or doctor. They can help you distinguish between normal end-of-glace breathing and something that may require more attention. Most importantly, try to stay grounded. Breathe with them. Let their rhythm set the pace for yours. Even the longest pause will usually be followed by another breath until, one day, it won't. And when that time comes, it won't be breath alone that carries them. It will be your love, your care, and the dignity you provided through every moment of quiet observation. So if you're sitting beside them now, counting the seconds between each inhale, know this: they are not alone. They are not afraid, and neither are you. Because even as breath fades, love remains constant. Your stillness, your steadiness, your heart beside theirs. That's what matters most. As the body begins its quiet retreat, the spirit often steps forward. You may begin to notice your elderly loved one saying things that feel otherworldly. They might speak of long-gone family members as if they're in the room. They may recall vivid memories from childhood or describe seeing someone standing at the foot of the bed, someone you can't see. Sometimes they begin to speak of going home, getting ready, or being called. These moments can feel confusing, surreal, even unsettling, but they're also profoundly meaningful. Far from being signs of confusion or dementia, these emotional and social shifts are often part of the body's natural spiritual preparation for passing. They're not always hallucinations or misfirings of the brain. For many, these are deeply personal moments of connection, bridges between the seen and the unseen. It's not uncommon for someone nearing the end of life to revisit unresolved memories, speak to loved ones who've already passed on, or reflect aloud on their legacy, regrets, or hopes. These aren't symptoms to fix. They are stories to honor. You may hear them say something like, "I saw my sister last night. She was smiling at me." Or, "They're getting the house ready for me." Or even simply, "I think I'm ready now." These statements can feel jarring if you're not prepared for them. You may feel the urge to correct, explain, or bring them back to the present. But the greatest gift you can give in these moments is simply to listen. Lean in, nod, hold their hand. These are not signs of a mind unraveling. They are signs of a soul gently untethering itself. Your role here is not to pull them back, but to walk beside them, to create space for their thoughts, their visions, their feelings, without needing to fix anything. In doing so, you become their companion in one of life's most sacred transitions. So if your loved one begins to speak with people you cannot see, or start saying things that hint at goodbye, listen with your heart, not your logic. Because in these moments, they're not just saying goodbye to this life, they're reaching for something beyond it. And your willingness to witness that, to meet it with love instead of fear, is a final, beautiful act of presence. As the emotional and spiritual transitions unfold, the body continues its own quiet journey, speaking in signs that are deeply physical, yet no less meaningful. You may begin to notice your loved one's hands and feet feel unusually cool to the touch. Their skin may take on a mottled or patchy appearance, bluish or purplish patterns, especially on the legs, arms, or back. You might also observe sudden fluctuations in their body temperature, feeling chilled despite layers of blankets, or becoming warm and clammy without explanation. These changes can be alarming if you're not prepared for them, but they're not unexpected. They are in many ways the body's final way of conserving energy and protecting what matters most. As the heart begins to slow, circulation naturally decreases. The body instinctively begins to redirect blood flow toward the vital organs, the brain, the heart, the lungs, while reducing flow to the extremities. This is why the hands and feet often grow cold. The skin may appear blotchy or pale. The warmth that once radiated from their body fades slowly. This isn't something to fear, it's something to witness with compassion. Offer warm, soft blankets, just enough to ease the chill without overheating. Use your touch, not just for warmth, but for connection. A gentle hand on their arm, a light stroke along their forehead. These small gestures, simple as they seem, offer more than physical relief. They remind your loved one that they are still here, still held, still loved. Even if they no longer speak, the body can still feel. They will feel your presence, your kindness, your care. And in these final moments, what matters most is not how warm their hands are, but how deeply they feel your love wrapped around them. That love, that gentle, quiet love, is what carries them. These signs aren't meant to frighten, they're a reminder to cherish time, offer comfort, and honor their journey. Watching someone you love grow quieter, slower, and more distant is never easy. But when we understand the subtle signs that life is drawing to a close, we're given something powerful. The chance to show up more fully, to offer comfort without fear, and to honor each moment with grace. These 5 signs, declining appetite, increased fatigue, changes in breathing, emotional shifts, and physical transformations, are not just clinical milestones. They are invitations to listen deeply, to hold gently, to release expectations and embrace presence. You don't need to know all the answers. You don't need to fix what cannot be fixed. You only need to love with quiet strength and open hands. Whether you're sitting at the bedside or remembering from afar, your love matters. Your presence matters. Your willingness to walk with them, even silently, is a profound gift. So take a deep breath. You are doing more than enough. And in the stillness of goodbye, you are not alone. You are a witness to love at its most sacred. If this video brought you comfort, clarity, or connection, I invite you to stay with us here at Elderly Truths. This channel is a quiet space for those walking the tender path of caregiving, grief, and love at the end of life. Here, we honor stories, share wisdom, and remind one another that even in goodbye, there is beauty. If you found this helpful, please consider liking, subscribing, or sharing it with someone who might need these gentle reminders. You never know who's silently carrying a heavy heart. And remember, you don't have to walk this road alone. One story, one truth, one moment at a time. We're in this together. Until next time, may you find peace in presence and love in every breath.